In the deepest shadows of the ocean, where sunlight dies within minutes, something enormous moves. Not quickly, not aggressively, but with a quiet, alien precision that feels almost deliberate. For centuries, sailors whispered about it. A creature so vast it could drag ships into the abyss. A monster with eyes the size of dinner plates and arms lined with suction cups like rows of teeth. Most scientists dismissed it as myth. Until they didn't. Because now, something has changed. And what researchers are discovering about the giant squid is not just surprising. It's unsettling. The giant squid, Archithus dux, lives in one of the least explored environments on Earth. The deep ocean. A place where pressure can crush steel. Where temperatures hover just above freezing. And where light simply doesn't exist. For a long time, the giant squid was more rumor than reality. Most of what we knew came from dead specimens, washed ashore, half-decayed, or found in the stomachs of whales. But seeing one alive? That was almost impossible. Until recently. With the advancement of deep-sea submersibles and ultra-sensitive cameras, scientists have finally begun to observe this elusive giant in its natural habitat. And what they're seeing is rewriting everything we thought we knew. At first glance, the giant squid seems like a creature built purely for intimidation. Its body can stretch over 10 meters long. Its tentacles extend even further, equipped with powerful suction cups lined with serrated edges. And then there are its eyes. The largest eyes in the animal kingdom. Each one roughly the size of a soccer ball. But these eyes are not just for show. In the pitch-black depths of the ocean, vision becomes something entirely different. There is no sunlight to rely on. Instead, creatures must detect the faintest glimmers of bioluminescence, tiny flashes of light produced by other organisms. The giant squid's massive eyes are perfectly adapted for this. They can detect disturbances in the darkness, subtle shifts caused by movement, even from great distances. In a world where visibility is nearly zero, the giant squid sees everything. But here's where things start to get strange. Recent studies suggest that the giant squid may not just be reacting to its environment. It may be interpreting it. In controlled observations, researchers noticed something unusual. When exposed to artificial light in the deep ocean, giant squids didn't behave like typical prey animals. They didn't panic. They didn't flee. Instead, they approached. Slowly, carefully, almost curiously, as if they were investigating. This behavior contradicts what we expect from deep-sea creatures, which are usually extremely sensitive to light and disturbance. But the giant squid? It seems drawn to it. And scientists are still trying to understand why. To truly understand this creature, we need to look at how it survives. Because in the deep ocean, survival is not about speed or strength alone. It's about efficiency. The giant squid doesn't chase its prey across long distances. That would waste energy, something that's incredibly scarce in its environment. Instead, it's hovering in the darkness, using its long tentacles like silent traps. When prey comes close, often small fish or other squid, the giant squid strikes with astonishing speed. Its tentacles shoot forward, grabbing the prey with hooked suckers. Then, in one fluid motion, it pulls the victim toward its beak. Yes, a beak. Hidden at the center of its arms, the giant squid possesses a sharp, parrot-like beak capable of slicing through flesh with ease. It doesn't chew. It tears. And consumes. All in near total darkness. But even a predator of this size has enemies. And one of them is far more terrifying. The sperm whale. These massive whales are the giant squid's primary predator, and perhaps its only true threat. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, epic battles unfold between these two giants. We know this not because we've witnessed it directly, but because of the scars. Sperm whales often surface with circular marks along their bodies, perfect impressions of giant squid suckers. Evidence of violent encounters in the deep. Encounters where neither side gives up easily. In fact, some scientists believe that these battles may last for hours. A slow, brutal struggle in complete darkness. One trying to crush, the other trying to escape or fight back. And yet, despite these dangers, the giant squid continues to thrive. Which brings us to another mystery: its life cycle. For such a large and iconic creature, we know surprisingly little about how giant squids grow, reproduce, or even how long they live. No one has ever observed a giant squid mating in the wild. No one has ever seen a baby giant squid in its natural environment. It's as if an entire stage of its existence is hidden from us. Some researchers believe that giant squids may grow extremely rapidly, reaching enormous sizes in just a few years. Others suggest that they may live longer than we think, spending most of their lives in depths that are still beyond our reach. But without direct observation, these remain theories. And then came the discovery that changed everything. Using advanced deep-sea tracking technology, scientists recently recorded patterns of movement in giant squids that didn't match anything previously documented. Instead of drifting passively as once believed, some giant squids were actively navigating their environment, following specific routes, returning to certain areas, almost as if they were mapping their surroundings. This kind of behavior suggests something remarkable, a level of spatial awareness that we did not expect from a creature like this. Because traditionally, squid have been viewed as instinct-driven animals, reactive, not strategic. But the giant squid may be different, even more surprising. There are signs that giant squids might be interacting with each other in ways we don't fully understand. Subtle changes in movement patterns, unexplained groupings detected by sonar, and brief, shadowy encounters captured on deep-sea footage. Could giant squids be more social than we thought? Or are these just rare coincidences in an environment we barely understand? At this depth, it's hard to tell. Evolution offers some clues. Squid, in general, are known for their intelligence. They belong to a group of animals called cephalopods, which includes octopuses and cuttlefish, some of the most intelligent invertebrates on Earth. Octopuses can solve puzzles. Cuttlefish can communicate using changing colors and patterns. So it's not unreasonable to think that the giant squid might possess its own form of intelligence. But if it does, it's hidden in darkness, far beyond our reach. And yet, the more we learn, the more questions we uncover. Why does it approach light instead of avoiding it? How does it navigate such a vast, featureless environment? Does it communicate, or even recognize others of its kind? And perhaps most importantly, what else is it doing down there that we haven't seen? Because the deep ocean is still largely unexplored. Over 80% of it remains unmapped, which means creatures like the giant squid are not just rare. They are part of a world we barely understand. But one thing is becoming clear. The giant squid is not just a deep-sea predator. It is something more. A creature that challenges our assumptions about life in extreme environments. A living mystery, evolving in silence. And now, as scientists continue to uncover new data, one question is beginning to take shape. Not just what is the giant squid, but what is it becoming? Because something about it is changing. And the deeper we look, the stranger it gets. If the giant squid were simply a large predator, our curiosity might end there. But it isn't. Because the deeper scientists look, the more this creature begins to blur the line between instinct and something far more complex. One of the most puzzling discoveries in recent years comes from deep-sea camera systems designed to observe bioluminescent organisms. These cameras emit extremely faint red light that most deep-sea animals cannot detect. At least, that's what scientists believed. But during several encounters, giant squids reacted. Not randomly, not violently, but with precision. They adjusted their position, turned their bodies, oriented their eyes directly toward the source, as if they could see something they weren't supposed to see. This has led researchers to question whether the giant squid's vision extends beyond what we currently understand. Could their eyes detect wavelengths of light invisible to other creatures? Or are they sensing something else entirely? Movement, vibrations, subtle distortions in the water? Because in the deep ocean, vision is only part of the story. Water itself becomes a medium of information. Every movement sends ripples. Every creature leaves a signature. And the giant squid appears exquisitely tuned to read it. Along its arms and body are sensory cells capable of detecting minute changes in pressure and flow. To us, the deep sea feels empty. To the giant squid, it may feel alive with signals. A constantly shifting map of invisible motion. This could explain how it navigates such a vast, seemingly featureless environment. Not by sight alone, but by feeling the ocean itself. But then comes an even stranger observation. During long-duration tracking, some giant squids were recorded altering their behavior in the presence of submersibles. At first, they approached slowly. Tentacles extended, body angled, almost exploratory. But after repeated encounters, something changed. They kept their distance, maintained a specific radius, circled, but never crossed an invisible boundary. This suggests something unexpected. Learning. The ability to recognize and adapt to a foreign presence. Not just reacting in the moment, but remembering and modifying behavior over time. For a creature living in near total isolation, this raises a profound question. What does intelligence look like when it evolves in darkness? Unlike octopuses, which interact with complex environments like reefs and rocky seafloors, the giant squid exists in open water, a space with few landmarks, few obstacles, few opportunities for interaction. And yet, it may have developed its own form of awareness, one that doesn't rely on touch or sight in the way we understand it, but on patterns, movement, absence, and presence. In such an environment, even the smallest change could be meaningful. A shift in current, a flicker of light, a distant vibration, all of it information. And then there is the question of communication. For decades, scientists assumed that giant squids were solitary, drifting alone in the abyss. But new sonar data challenges this idea. On multiple occasions, large, squid-like forms have been detected moving within proximity of each other. Not colliding, not competing, but maintaining distance. Almost like spacing, a pattern that appears too consistent to be random. Could this be a form of interaction? A silent awareness of others nearby? Or even a primitive social structure? We don't know. Because unlike many other cephalopods, the giant squid does not display obvious visual signals. No flashing colors. No dramatic skin patterns. At least, none that we've been able to see. But in the deep ocean, communication may not rely on light. Could be chemical, subtle releases into the water. Or mechanical, tiny movements, vibrations, pulses. A language we are only beginning to imagine. Then there is its growth. And this is where things become almost unbelievable. Based on fragmentary evidence, scientists suspect that giant squids grow at an astonishing rate. From microscopic hatchlings to massive predators in just a few years. But how does a creature sustain such rapid growth in an environment where food is scarce? The answer may lie in efficiency. The giant squid's body is built to conserve energy. Its movements are smooth, deliberate, minimal. It doesn't waste effort. And when it feeds, it consumes high-energy prey, creatures packed with nutrients. Every meal counts. Every movement matters. This is survival at its most optimized. But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of the giant squid is its origin. Where does it come from? Where does it go? Because despite all our technology, we still cannot track its full life cycle. Some theories suggest that juvenile giant squids live in entirely different regions of the ocean. Shallower waters, safer zones, only descending into the deep as they mature. Others propose that they remain hidden in depths we have yet to explore, growing unseen, untouched, an entire population existing just beyond the limits of our knowledge. And then, there are the anomalies. Encounters that don't quite fit. Footage of giant squids behaving in ways that defy explanation. Hovering motionless for extended periods. Ignoring nearby prey. Or interacting with objects that have no apparent relevance to survival. In one recorded instance, a giant squid was observed gently touching a piece of equipment, repeatedly. Not attacking. Not feeding. Just touching. As if examining it. Testing it, trying to understand it. This is not the behavior of a simple predator. It suggests curiosity, And curiosity is a trait often associated with higher intelligence. But here's where the mystery deepens. Because if the giant squid is capable of learning, of awareness, of curiosity, then what else might it be capable of? And more importantly, how would we even recognize it? We are studying a creature that exists in a completely different sensory world. One where darkness is normal, where pressure is immense, where communication may not involve sound or light in ways we can detect. It's like trying to understand a language without knowing what the words look like. And all of this leads to a growing realization among scientists. The giant squid is not just a species. It is a frontier, a living gateway into understanding how life adapts to the most extreme environments on Earth. Because if intelligence, awareness, and complex behavior can evolve here, in isolation, in darkness, under crushing pressure, then our definition of intelligence itself may be incomplete. The deep ocean has always been a place of mystery. But creatures like the giant squid remind us that it is not just empty space. It is a hidden ecosystem, a vast, interconnected world, filled with life that we are only beginning to glimpse. And the giant squid may be one of its most important inhabitants, not because of its size, but because of what it represents. A creature that has evolved beyond our expectations. A predator that may also be an observer. A solitary giant that might not be so solitary after all. And a mystery that grows deeper the more we uncover. Somewhere far below the surface. In the